working hand in hand with our cardiologists or our cardiovascular surgeons. And Dr. Elias Quitos is a cardiovascular thoracic surgeon who has been here since 2014 and practices at Southeastern Cardiovascular Associates, which is one of our clinics. And he practices with his partners, Dr. Stephen Johnson, who came in 1996, and Joseph Graham, who just came recently at the end of 2016. This group does about 500 heart procedures a year, so they're a very busy group. Dr. Quitos is board certified in surgery and thoracic surgery. He went to medical school at Tulane University in New Orleans, and he did his residency in surgery and cardiothoracic surgery at State University of New York at Stony Brook and in Syracuse. Dr. Quitos.
I'm trying to beat Dr. Aliyabadi's record. Between the three of us, Steve Johnson, Joe Graham, and myself, we have about a total of 106 years of experience after graduating from medical school. About that. But anyway, I'm supposed to talk about advances here in cardiac surgery. In addition to what we do in the chest, like lung surgery using the robot, we actually have done a few advances here at the medical center. 3 of them are already being done. We used to send a lot of patients who've had old pacemakers, and if they have those pacemakers removed, or a lot of the leads which are stuck in the chest could not be removed and just yanked out. They have to be sent over to tertiary centers. Now we can do it here. So far, we've done quite a few of these patients without any complications. It's called the laser lead extraction. We use a laser device that actually uses the leads that are already present in the patients and use that as a rail, so to speak, to guide this laser through, and it slices the scar away from the laser lead, from the leads themselves, so that we can actually remove the whole pacemaker or AICD system and then put in a new set. So now people don't have to worry about swollen arms or infected leads in them with constant antibiotic infusions. That's one advance that we're doing now over here at the medical center. The second thing is what's been present now since the 1990s. It's called transmyocardial laser revascularization. It sounds fancy, but all we do are create pinpoint holes in the heart using a laser. And what that does is it actually revives or creates what they call angiogenesis. It's a fancy way of actually having the heart create new blood vessels. Not big ones, but enough to at least supply that area of the heart that's been scarred down with new blood supply. So when people have pain, essentially their pain disappears along with it. Remarkable. And these are meant for people who cannot be bypassed or stented, because their arteries are so blocked all the way down to the very little tiny twigs, down to the very end, that there's just no hope for them except for this. And we're doing that here now. And we're doing it concomitantly. That means at the same time that we do bypass surgery or valve surgery. Now, in the near future, and hopefully we will bring that technology here, is what we call convergent maze procedure, where we can actually use a scope, go underneath in the what they call the subxiphoid area, just right below here, and reach and put these pacemaker or these pinholes right into that area. Okay. Now we can also do this with what we call the atrial fibrillation maze surgery. Now this is a fancy term for actually just trying to corral off atrial fibrillation impulses within the heart so it won't spread out to the rest of the body. A lot of times people will have to have blood thinners so that way they don't have strokes from atrial fibrillation. We can do this atrial fibrillation maze surgery during the time, again, for any kind of heart surgery, and we, about 80 to 90% of cases, can actually convert these people back to sinus rhythm, and then they don't have to take Coumadin anymore. We can also clip the left atrial appendage where clots can form. So those are the 3 things that we're actually doing now in here. Two additional things that we could do in the near future is transcutaneous aortic valve replacement. You've probably heard of it, where you can actually replace the aortic valve not through open heart surgery anymore, but through stick down in the groin. You put the valve in along with the balloon, inflate the balloon, and then outspreads the new valve in place of the old aortic valve that's tight. So that's one. And it's going to be coming soon within the next few months in here. That's in the States. The second thing, of course, would be robotic mitral valve repair. For the first time, the Society of Thoracic Surgeons, which is basically the governing body of thoracic surgeons in the country, will be putting out a course. And it's not just a watch and do kind of thing, it's actually how to set up a program, similar to ours over here in the community. And this, of course, will be up to our leadership and administration, as well as our clinical staff. And soon, hopefully, everyone will say, let us go to Dothan for all of this. Thank you.
My name is Mike Williams, and I'm actually responsible for our cardiology departments and our radiology departments here at the medical center. So my slot on the agenda says history of cardiovascular services, and I really don't know how that makes me feel because I've been here 30 years. So I've been a little bit of part of most of the history as it's happened here, and it has been absolutely wonderful. You know, the more things change, the more they've always been underpinned by a very simple philosophy, and that is we want to provide great care to the patients that live in our area. 60 years ago this year, the medical center opened its doors, and it was opened on the philosophy of providing great care to the patients that were in the Wiregrass area. That was how we opened. If you fast forward about 23, 24 years and go back to around 1981, we had the first cardiologist that actually located into this area and started taking care of patients. Dr. Harrell and Dr. Sawyer did the first heart caths that were done in this community, and back then, all they were doing was taking pictures and looking, because you couldn't do interventional because you didn't have an open heart surgeon on standby. So you go from Dr. Harrell and Dr. Sawyer to Dr. Luther McEachern, who came here and did some of the first interventions. Then you fast forward a couple of years and you had Ed Plants, who located here in Dothan in 1985 and did all the work that was required to build the team and get us ready to do open heart surgery. We did our first open heart surgery in 1986. Billy Stevens is still hanging in there, and up until not too long ago was actually visiting cardiac rehab about 3 days a week. So, but it was all about being able to do more for the patients in our community. You fast forward to 1997 and you've grown to Dr. Gwynn and Dr. Young and Dr. Xenophon, Dr. Aliabadi, who's going to celebrate 20 this year. And we built a new surgery tower in 2005, opened it up, a new surgery tower with expanded operating rooms, a new critical care area. You fast forward to 2012, we opened this building right here. We expanded our cath labs from 2 labs and a swing lab, we called it then, to now 5 separate cardiac cath labs. We opened a new heart and vascular unit to prep and recover the patients that come in here for heart and vascular procedures. They are a 24-bed unit. We opened this new non-invasive testing area with new stress labs and echo labs. And it is all about still being undergirded by that very simple philosophy. We want to provide great care to the patients in our area. That's what it's always been about. And when I'm long gone, That's what it'll continue to be about. Today, we celebrate Heart Month, and it's really about celebrating our patients. It's also about celebrating our teams that take care of those patients. And I would be a little bit remiss if I didn't thank, first of all, our physicians, our 10 cardiologists, Dr. Aliabadi, Dr. Gwynn, Dr. Mooch, Dr. Young, Dr. Xenophon, Dr. Chinneretti, Dr. Eunice, Dr. Pinson, Dr. Rushing, and Dr. Wright. They do a great job. We need to thank our CV surgeons, Dr. Steve Johnson, who's been here about 21 years, I think, Dr. Quintos, and then their newest addition, Dr. Joe Graham, and then our vascular surgeons, Dr. Randy Nichols and Dr. Ross Davis. They lead the charge in taking care of our patients. And then you go on further. And I think we've got some EMS folks in here today. And the work that they do to get heart attack patients in here in a timely manner, we can't do our job if they don't do theirs. So thank you very much, guys. It takes a village, as you can guess, but we've got a ton of nurses out there in the critical care unit on 4 East and on 7 East. The nurses, the techs, the unit secretaries, they take great care of patients every single day. Our OR team that supports Dr. Quintos and Johnson and Dr. Graham, and our anesthesia team, we need to thank them. I have to thank our cardiac rehab staff. There's a few people sitting in this room. I see a few heads nodding. Our cardiac rehab staff come along after this, and they help our patients get well and then stay well. About 15,000 visits a year. So certainly thanks to them. Our non-invasive staff, 40,000 non-invasive tests a year. 40,000. That's a lot. In our IU, I mentioned our heart and vascular unit. About 7,500 patients a year get prepped and recovered there from the work that our cardiologists and our CV surgeons do. So certainly thanks to them. Last but certainly not least, I got to say thanks to our team in the cath lab. They do a great job every day, and nothing gets them fired up more than to see a patient who comes in not so good and who goes out a little bit gooder. So that is a good I tried to go back and get some kind of estimate of how much we had done, and I ran out of data that I could put my hands on in about 15 years. But I don't know if it would surprise you guys or not to know that in the last 15 years, we've probably done cardiac catheterization on about 60,000 patients in 15 years. And we've done open heart surgery on probably 6,000 patients. So it is a big number, but it's underpinned by the very simple prospect of we want to give great care to our patients. I'd like to thank our healthcare authority and our board of directors for their support. Their support is what puts this here. Our administrative team, Mr. Sutton preaches every day. We're here to provide great care to patients, and that's what we aim to continue doing. So thanks to all of you guys, and I am about to turn this thing over rather fearfully to Charlie Platt. Anyway, let's just say that Charlie's a great example of how this process works and how you can actually be better after than what you were before. So I'm going to turn it over to Charlie and thank you.
We're here to celebrate those who have received help and are better, but I would not be doing myself justice if I didn't mention a friend that we lost about a week ago. 41-year friend I worked with, Connor Vernon, who didn't make it. So there are happy stories, there are sad stories. Connor was one of the best, and he will be missed. On approximately 2011, these people at the medical center came to me and said, we have got a special we want to do. Will you be our guinea pig? That would be this lady right over here. I said, what is it? Well, we're going to do some blood work. We're going to do some tests on circulation. We're going to offer this to the public for $99.95. Air one of them. Okay, so I did it. I met Dr. Allibody. Blood work was okay, just a little elevation in cholesterol. He put me on Crestor, and like most hard-headed men that try Crestor, the muscle aches got to me and I quit taking that, but everything else looked okay on the EKG. It was a very, I'm okay, I don't have any major problems, life goes on. Fast forward, May 2012. On the 14th, I was diagnosed with bursitis, the shoulder into the neck, swelling, 2 shots of a steroid. Next morning, had hair cut, it cut above, where the ladies were, you need to go to the doctor. We need to call 911. I'm just sweating. I said, no, it's those steroids. I'll be okay. Got home in the driveway, put 1 foot on the concrete, and I had not an audible voice, Brother Lewis, but something told me if I put the other foot out and stood up, that would be my resting place forever. I called Mark Stewart, who I've worked with for years, and I said, Mark, we got a problem. I've got a problem. It's not good. I don't know what it is. Somebody's fixing to bring me in, and let's keep it low key. I get enough publicity as it is. And when they sign you out at this place, let me tell you, nobody can find you. That was the biggest complaint I had. This HIPAA thing, it works, let me tell you. Jimmy Raines said, I made 3 trips to Dothan and nobody even knew you down there. But long story short, I meet Dr. Allibody again in the emergency room. And he, like dentists, will tell a little fib every now and then. You remember when you got your first filling when you were a kid, and the dentist said, oh, this is going to feel just like a little mosquito bite, right? Yeah. He tells me, we've got a little problem with blood work, we're going to get you to the cath lab, I'll have a couple of stents in you, and you'll be back to normal in no time. I woke up 8 days later. 8 days later. I lost it. I'm very, very blessed to have a family of friends and people in television audience that did a lot of praying. And when I finally came to, it was my first meeting of Dr. Ed Plants, who was 2 years into pancreatic cancer himself. No hair from chemo. That's the first time I met Dr. Plants, was after the surgery. And I called him at that point, the Grim Reaper. He walks in the room and he says, well, I see you're still with us. I said, does that mean I'm going home? He says, no, it means you're still alive. A very frank talk took place that day. Dr. Allibody comes back in. A hard month and a half of rehab. I stayed here approximately 16 days. Went to rehab. I failed there, went home in 4 days. Did my rehab at home. Had a great network again coming back to this intimidating building. This mortar and clay, as Mark said so well. But the people here, you just cannot say enough about, and still have not had the opportunity to thank each and every one of the people who would take time to work with me, pray for me. The list goes on and on. I'm still meeting them today. It was time for checkup at Dr. Allibody's office. I still had not, a month after surgery, I don't think I had exactly understood how severe my situation was until lovely blonde-headed lady by the name of Holly Crutchfield. When I go to the office for my first checkup, Holly, where are you? She had to leave. I get in the office and she sits there with two of her assistants and they're just staring at me. She says, I need to tell you something. That's what she says. I know we're acting a little funny, but looking at your records from the hospital, she said, I thought it best you'd come in here on a gurney for your checkup. At that point, I realized this is a serious situation. Next day, I go for my 1 month after surgery with Dr. Plans. Dr. Plans had done 13 hours of surgery the day before. We all knew what his health condition he was in. So I met with the newly retired John Manning, correct? He's out, right? Grim Reaper 2. Grim Reaper 2 says, you need to take this, you need to keep on this, you need to do this, you need to do this. I wish you could introduce me to everybody in your office and then say, we've done all we can do for you. No more surgery. Oh, wish we could say we fixed you for a year or 2 or 3, but you may be gone tomorrow. Now do you understand why I said Grim Reaper 2? Well, thanks to the good Lord, it's been 5 years come May 15th since I came into this place. And I'm still thanking, especially the good Lord, but all the people that still come up to me and say, hey, I was in surgery the night that they did the surgery on you. I did this, I did that. You don't remember me. I didn't know Dr. Johnson actually took care of me while Dr. Plans was in Arizona getting treatment for his cancer. I was out 7 days, didn't know what. Didn't know anything that was going on around me. But I was in great hands. This place means a lot to me. And when I pass it, every time I'm on the road and pass this place, I have never looked at it the way I used to. Just a big building with a bunch of doctors, with a bunch of nurses, where people make a living. It is a place where healing takes place, care takes place. People actually care about your well-being and what happens to you down the line. Rehab. I can't say enough about the rehab group here at the medical center. Cardio rehab. It was a great, I did 2 years, 2.5 years almost in rehab and still exercise, not quite as much as I should. We all kind of fudge a little bit, John. Diets are always hard to keep if you're a heart patient. But I do encourage you, and I've met some friends that watch the show today here, if you are someone in your family has been through heart problems, whether it be heart attack, bypass, whatever the case may be. One thing, if I could say, is kind of disappointing is more restaurants, and we all get in this quick, fast world. Not enough places have what we need to eat. Maybe one day we'll have that pill that we can eat anything we want, take that and go on with life. But it just does not exist now. So if you have a family member that has things, don't tempt them. We like everything fried down here. That's my biggest problem is eating too much. But a lot of people knew that I smoked a good bit. And somebody asked me, do you remember when did you quit smoking? I threw the last Marlboro Light 100 out as my son was driving me into the entrance of the emergency room. And I saw this guy and some others standing down there waiting for me. And that's one thing, thank the good Lord, I had a desire to do, is smoke another cigarette. It's been an interesting journey, a journey that this team and this family at this facility, it was like, I want to tell one more thing, it was like the good Lord placed everything step by step. He said, I know you're nervous. I know you're hurting. This was in the cath lab, remember? I'm going to give you a little something to ease you off. That's when he introduced me to the Michael Jackson Joy Juice. And if anybody ever thought Michael was dancing on Propanol, no, he might have been dreaming about dancing on Propanol, but you're just out of there. Didn't think about anything like that. But after the only few times I remember waking up before the surgery, the lady that was cutting my hair, Sarah Jo Braswell, had been doing it for 25 years. I woke up and I noticed a familiar looking face. You know, Mayor's like, I know this guy, but I don't know who it is. He said, Mr. Charlie, it's Joseph. What? Joseph Braswell. Said, Mom and Claudia and everybody's praying for you. It was the girl that cuts my hair's son. He's now a nurse practitioner over at Southern Clinic. So it was like one family member after another family member after another family member. The building is intimidating. All the equipment in here is. And the people who work here sometimes can be. But folks, we're blessed to have this facility. And I'm one that can say Southeast Alabama Medical Center is something we are all proud of, and we want to keep going strong. Thank you.